Welcome to Idea to IPO. My name is Rob. I organize Idea to IPO. We've been holding events in Silicon Valley for many, many years. We launched officially on February 1st, 2010. At that time, we had no members and no events on our calendar. At this stage, we have over 1 million members among all our meetup groups all around the world. We've organized, promoted, and produced over 5,700 events. By any standard, by any measure, we're the most active, most prolific startup event organization in the history of Silicon Valley, bar none. Thank you. Thank you for all your support. We organize venture capital panel events, legal workshops, networking events, and more. We hold an event every day of the week. Check out our schedule at ideatoipo.com. Did I mention that we launched officially on February 1st, 2010? What day is today? Yeah, I know we're 10 days out, but this is the only date we could get. What year is it? So that's 16 years. That's a long time. Is that a long time? 16 years is a long time, so we do have a cake. It's our 16th anniversary, and I think we're ready to get a driver's license. It's 16 years. But I want to mention that we've had many panelists throughout the years, and Bill, I think, has been with us from the very beginning. So Bill has been on our panels for many, 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 many years. So thank you, Bill. So let's hear it for Bill. So anyway, so we're going to have a cake later. We've got a cake ceremony. So who has a birthday in December, January, or February? Well, the cake's for you, too, so happy birthday. So our mission is to promote entrepreneurship, support entrepreneurs, build community, and provide value in the Silicon Valley startup ecosystem. To that end, we provide content that is practical, actionable, and relevant. Stuff you can actually use to succeed as entrepreneurs. We believe in building community because Silicon Valley is a global aspirational ecosystem. It attracts people from all over the world who come here to do great things. Who here is not originally from Silicon Valley or the greater San Francisco Bay Area? Who here was born and raised in Silicon Valley or the greater San Francisco Bay Area? Wow, we like 7. That's awesome. How about this? Who was born in Palo Alto? Woo! Let's hear it for the native Palo Alto people. 3 of them. Well, welcome. So whether you were born and raised here or just arrived last night, it's important for us to provide multiple channels for you to meet people, build relationships, and grow your network. With regard to value, it's important that we provide value at each and every one of our events. Not just value for your money, which is important, though, because we know many entrepreneurs are struggling financially. So we make sure our events are free or affordable. And if one of our events has a cover charge and you cannot afford the cover charge, for whatever reason, come talk to me and we can work something out. And at most of our in-person speaker events, we make sure that we provide a delicious buffet. Is that a delicious buffet? Oh, come on, is that a delicious buffet? I want to thank Snell and Wilmer for sponsoring that delicious buffet. So let's hear it for Snell and Wilmer. More importantly, at each and every one of our events, we want to make sure that we provide value for your time, which is your most valuable resource. Anyone here getting any younger? Besides this young lady and this young man? So when you invest your valuable time to come to our events, we want to make sure that you maximize your ROI. We have many partners that help us do what we do. Law firms, venture capital firms, angel investor groups, incubators, accelerators, colleges, universities, and lots of other players in the Silicon Valley startup ecosystem. Tonight, we're grateful to Snell and Wilmer for hosting us once again at this beautiful venue. Is this a beautiful venue? Yes. So let's hear it for Snell and Wilmer. We've held many events here, and we look forward to many, many more. Roger, would you like to say a few words?
Absolutely. We get paid by the word, so, no, I'm kidding. How you all doing tonight? Oh, seriously, how you all doing? Well, Happy New Year to everybody. Great to have you here. Really really appreciate what Rob's doing and the community we have, like such an amazing, thriving startup community. And also thank you to all of our panelists for giving of your time. Just to pay for dinner, just in case our CFO is watching, just going to tell you a little bit about Snell and Wilmer. It's a long-established law firm, more than 500 lawyers, 18 offices around the country, has all the major practice groups that are important to startups. I co-lead our emerging growth and venture capital practice group. So I deal with startups from incorporation all the way through IPO. And really looking forward to an amazing panel. I know Bill is just never controversial, but maybe you could amp it up, this time. And we'll turn it back over to Rob.
Applause. Some of our other partners are here tonight. I would also like to have them say a few words. Let's hear it from Matt at Insperity. Applause.
Well, thank you, Rob. Happy birthday. I just wanted to let you know, congratulations on that. It is Insperity's 40th birthday this year as well, and one of our missions, very much like yours, is to help businesses succeed so communities prosper. And where we come in and where we help businesses from seed, Series A and above is to help them grow by taking care of all the strategic and tactical HR administration for their organizations. And so if you have questions, you want to learn more about what we do, please reach out. We're here, and thank you for having us.
All right, let's hear it for Sabrina and Tesla. Applause.
Hi, my name is Sabrina, and I'm from Tesla Palo Alto. And we're actually here so people can experience full self-driving supervised and not just hear about it. So if you have any questions or want to explore how it is to drive autonomously in a car, which drives almost by its own, then feel free to reach out to me or my wonderful colleague, Annie, and we'll make it happen. So feel free. We're here. We have the cars with us, and you can go on a cruise or just arrange and check in for a demo drive on another day. Thank you.
All right, next up we have Anar and Oculus. Applause.
Thank you, Rob. Amazing organizing. Thank you for organizing this. My name is Anar. Actually, what we're building is basically exoskeletons. I don't know how many of you heard about the sector itself. Basically, it's a 6 patented wearable suits support the human body against the gravity if you're doing any physical repetitive tasks. So, for example, one of the products is like shoulder support. If you're doing like or support for like upper level or neck support, leg support, back support, and multiple products. We have like 6 patents, 2 design patents, purely mechanical, no battery. Yeah, that's what we're doing. And again, thanks for all your support.
All right. Next, we have Yana and New York Life. Applause.
Thank you, Rob. Good evening, everyone. My name is Yana Vasileva, and I'm with New York Life. I help individuals, businesses, and startups with life insurance and financial planning. And if you do get funded by venture capital, you do need life insurance, and we need to connect. So please come to my table and do the raffle. We have a lot of fun surprises for you tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, next up we have Jacqueline and Neural Method. Applause.
Thank you so much, Rob, for letting me come and introduce my new company called Neural Method. We design, build, and govern AI systems for businesses. A lot of companies are having issues with tool sprawl, so we offer a centralized system that keeps decisions, risks, and overview under control. Thank you.
All right, next up we have Erica and Animal Blood Center. Applause.
Hi, my name is Erica. I'm the CEO and founder of Animal Blood Center. And what you may not know is that cats and dogs can also give blood just like humans. There's a national shortage when it comes to these pet blood products, and we're here to make a difference and make an impact. So if you have a heart for animals, I'd love to connect. Thanks.
All right, last but not least, Paul from Cruise. Applause.
Thanks, Rob. Please raise your hand if you carpooled here tonight with anybody else. Did anybody? All right, we got a couple. That's more than last time. That's great. My name is Paul Breslow. I'm the founder and CEO of Cruise Carpool. And you may not know, but transportation is the number 2 household expense. It's growing, and it's like Uber and Lyft are only 1% of the billion rides per day because they're too expensive. And the solution is carpooling. It's sharing rides. We do that uniquely by traditional ride shares, where it's you or me or anybody giving a ride to somebody going the same direction, or by doing a sharing of an Uber and Lyft where you actually save 40 to 100%, and you're saving time, our most invaluable commodity, and money and emissions. And we're partnering with universities, employers, and event organizers. And if that sounds like you, or if you're an investor, please come find me. Thanks very much.
10% of global emissions are caused by in-person events. We do a lot of virtual events, but we do in-person events like this. So to mitigate the harm, we have a sustainability initiative. As you can see, we have reusable plates. I'm not done. Forks, utensils, napkins, cups. So if you could kindly help us out and minimize waste, that would be great. When it comes to sustainability, it's easy to talk the talk, like many things in life, and it's harder to walk the walk. And like many things in life, you have to do what you got to do. Not because it's easy, but because it's hard. So guess who's going to be washing those dishes tomorrow at 8 a.m.? Well, I am, but I'm taking volunteers. So if you'd like to help out, come see me. But I want to thank Snell and Wilmer for allowing us to use the dishwashing machine up on the 6th floor. So let's hear it for Snell and Wilmer for helping us be sustainable. So though our local mission is to support entrepreneurs here in Silicon Valley, our global mission is to democratize innovation and entrepreneurship all around the world. To that end, we maintain a robust YouTube channel, youtube.com/idea to IPO. Check it out. We have tons of videos there. And this rich, valuable content is available on demand, anytime, anywhere, totally free of charge. Our partner in this endeavor is Michael Payne, one of the top professional videographers in Silicon Valley. So let's hear it for Michael. Applause.
Who here leverages technology in their job or their company? Anybody? So maybe 10% of you? Well, maybe the other 90% should think about it. I help companies and individuals tell their stories. I help them leverage video. Video multiplies your messaging automatically, and it elevates your brand. Think about it. Thank you.
All right, so let's see who's in the room tonight. Who here is an early stage entrepreneur? What's the difference between a pizza and an early stage entrepreneur? A pizza can feed a family of 4. Yeah. So who here is an investor, venture capitalist or angel investor? Who here is an enterprise employee? Who here is a government employee? Who's a former government employee? Who's an academic or student? Who's a journalist or media person? Who's here for the delicious buffet? Well, thank you for coming. So here's the schedule for the rest of the evening. Our panel will hold a brilliant, compelling, dynamic, entertaining, and scintillating discussion. Right, panel? We're going to push it back a little bit because we had a lot of announcements. So at 8:15, we'll open up to questions from the audience. We only have a half an hour of Q&A, so that would take us to 8:45. Is that okay, panel? You believe in work-life balance, right? Okay. So we'll go a little bit longer tonight. At that point, we'll end the program. We have our raffle drawing. We're going to cut the cake, and we will have an after party. More on that later. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to our distinguished moderator. That's you, Roger. Our distinguished moderator, Roger Royce, partner at Snell & Wilmer. So let's give it up for Roger on our panel. Applause.
All right. Thank you, Rob. Thank you. And thank you to all the folks that came up. Just one thing before we get going. There's a flyer on your seat. I do a trilogy for workshops. The first one is all the do's and don'ts. The second one is developing a funding strategy, and the third one is negotiating term sheets. Each workshop is about 4 to 5 hours, 100 to 200 page workbooks. If you're an early stage entrepreneur, it's apparently workshops not to be missed. All right, so let's get going. What we're going to do is just start with Eric. Go down the row here. Tell us a little bit about you, your fund, quickly, because we're under time constraints. Tell us about you, your fund, what sector you invested in, check size, and what you're most excited about. So, Eric from Verpluch, Managing Director of Tunitas Ventures. Let's lead it off with you, Eric.
Thank you. Yes, I'm Eric. Yes, I'm Eric Verplu, founding partner of Tunitas Ventures. We like to say at Tunitas, we invest only in category-creating companies. So companies with no competitors inventing brand new industries. It's a pretty small subset of the world, but we feel a very attractive subset. My background, I was a partner at 2 large venture firms for 11 years, started 2 venture-backed companies before that, raised 5 rounds of venture, got my PhD and MBA at Stanford. Check sizes in the $500,000 to $1 million range.
And you lead or do you follow?
At that check size, I'm usually on a safe note along other people, but if it's called for, I'm happy to lead around.
And do you follow on it all as well?
Yeah, happy to.
All right. Great. Thank you. Joe Jason, Managing Director at DNA Partners.
Yes, thanks, Roger. Once again, my name's Joe. I'm with DNA Partners. We call it, it's a VC firm, boutique, about 10 years old. And we call it DNA Partners because we're investing in the entrepreneurial spirit of the executive's DNA. We're not doing bio or anything like that. We consider nano, but we would need to grow into that. So DNA Partners, our typical investment is about 120K, so we're really early. So 50 to 500K is our range. Our geographies are USA, China, we're sunsetting, and we're sunrising the Philippines. So USA and Philippines primarily. And the vertical that we invest in is, I want to say, software, okay? And infrastructure software related to digital media. So not content. So again, infrastructure software. And we're excited. We are portfolio companies. We've had 3 exits. So everything's paid for itself. I typically don't say that, but I want to prove it to Bill. And about a little bit about me. I'm just thinking about me as Silicon Valley guy since 1996. And I'm a wireless guy, so I'm 2G to 6G wireless. So so I'm working on 6G protocols and standards in DC. And then my career's basically been based in USA and Asia.
All right, great. Thank you, Joe. Next up, Ellen Damaso, who's with Plus Ultra Capital Partners.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ellen Damaso. I am with Plus Ultra Capital Partners. We are a seed and Series A fund. We look for companies that have $1 million in ARR and above, and where we really have our niche is moving companies from 0 to 1 founder-led sales to 1 to 10, 1 to 15, getting that sales revenue and go-to-market engine going, and getting up to the 5 million ARR and above, and really getting these companies. We do non-traditional VC, so we do SPVs for ours, and our minimum check size is 2 to 5 million, and we're industry and geographic agnostic, but where we specialize is bringing these companies to 3 to 5 years is our time frame that we shoot for, and getting them ready for the A16Zs and the Sequoias of the world. So that's where we really specialize. My background is I'm actually an electrical engineer, so I've done all the way from a product definition to extending a product beyond 20 years. And I've worked to bring emerging products into market, or if they fail as well. You learn just as much from the failures as you do the successes. And I'm new to SF, 24 weeks this week, and I'm originally from the South, and I'm staying here.
Excellent. Thank you, Ellen. Dan Theobald, venture partner at Republic Ventures. Tell us about Republic, Dad.
Yes, so we're primarily seed, deep tech, and SaaS. Check size is 2 million plus or minus 100%. Depending, we primarily lead, occasionally follow. but we like clean cap tables.
Anything of particular interest in the deep tech space right now?
It's quite broad. Brain-computer interfaces, robotics, quite a bit in the robotics space, but yeah, it varies.
All right, great. Thank you, Dan. Next up is Yvonne Luch, who's the investor director at Lamb Capital.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Yvonne. So if you don't know Lamb Capital, I don't blame you. So Lamb Capital is the venture arm of Lamb Research Corporation, and Lamb Research Corporation is, from the market cap, at least the second largest semiconductor equipment manufacturer in the world. We're beating currently Applied Materials, and we're very proud of that in terms of market cap. Hey! We write checks from 500K up to 10 million. We are investing off balance sheets, so big checks are not a problem if you really want to do a deal. We are a very strategic corporate investor. We want to leverage our own knowledge, our own technologies, our capabilities to help startups to become the better version of themselves. And in reverse, the startup will help us either to build products together or become a customer or the partner, whatever. I'm in venture for more than 8 years now, came from Germany 10 years ago, and I also don't want to leave.
Excellent. And certainly last but not least, Bill Reichert, partner at Pegasus Tech Ventures.
Thank you, Roger, and thank you, Rob, for inviting me back. Delighted to see some familiar faces and meet some new faces while we're here. My name is Bill Reichert, and I'm a general partner at Pegasus Tech Ventures. Pegasus is a global venture capital firm with over $2 billion in assets under management. And we're a very unique model in that rather than pooling money into a big fund, what we do is we set up dedicated funds for mainly corporate investors and or sometimes family offices. So one LP, us as GP, we now run over 40 separate funds. So it's an insane business model. But what it means is because we have 40 plus corporate partners, we invest in pretty much every sector you can imagine. So unfortunately, not every company you can imagine, but every sector you can imagine. So we've invested in SpaceX and Coinbase and Robinhood and OpenAI and Anthropic and bunches of other companies in life science, material science, clean tech, mobility, robotics, et cetera, et cetera. So we're very broad in our investment thesis. We write checks from 100,000 up to 25 million. So we're kind of all over the map in terms of stage, as well as geography. We invest around the world. We don't usually lead. We actually like to co-invest with some strong financial investors. We follow when that makes sense. And we also launched a program called Startup World Cup, which is now the biggest and possibly the richest startup competition on the planet. Last year, we ran over 100 competitions around the world. And then the winners come to San Francisco in the fall to compete for a $1 million grand prize. So we do that in our spare time. But other than that, got lots of bandwidth.
Is there anything that you guys don't invest
in? Cannabis.
Okay. All right. Excellent. So let's just jump right into it. Let's open it up to the panel. Before we can look forward to 26, I just want to take a quick look back. So what surprised you most about the venture market in 25, good or bad? Maybe, Bill, you want to kick it off?
Boy, don't get me going. I guess what surprised me most is that given all of the craziness that the new administration created, that for the most part, the venture market didn't seem to care all that much. And that was kind of a surprise, I would say. I'll leave it at that. We got plenty of other thoughts.
Ellen.
I actually was surprised at climate tech, and we're talking about the administration, because a lot of these projects in climate tech, they're very high, capital X intensive, and received a lot of grants to get where they are with their products. And I saw some great technology, but the funding was pulled, and so they were struggling to find those resources and to be able to make that happen.
And maybe I'll pitch in with a different surprise in 2025. Since the decline from the bubble year in 21, we've seen capital availability come down a bit. And by stage, it's been very surprising to me to see that at the seed stage, it's come down only a tiny bit, maybe 5-10%, whereas Series A is down by like half. And that's caused a lot of really good ideas to be funded at the seed stage. And there's not follow-on capital except for the ones that are, truly meteoric, 1, 10, 100. Well, maybe not quite that, but the bar is pretty damn high to get to Series A. And so we're seeing a large number of good ideas. Companies are sort of cash flow break even on tiny, single-digit millions. And I think it's going to be an unpleasant universe for those people to deal with.
Joe, Dan, go ahead.
I was just going to say the humanoid hype was quite surprising. The amount of money flowing into some of the robotics companies that, from people that don't really understand robotics, I'd say creating absolutely ridiculous valuations was quite surprising.
Yeah, I mean, what was surprising, and I guess in retrospect, not really that surprising because of the rise of AI and the hype around AI, was hardware, robots, defense tech, things that we thought kind of weren't really fundable turned out to be, quite amazing in terms of investment dollars going into it.
It's just interesting to me because years ago, we had a robotics company that we couldn't call a robotics company because no one would touch anything that had the word robotics in it.
Yeah, so hardware is not hard anymore, right?
Yeah, you just call it physical AI or robotics, and now you're worth 10x.
Just to chime on that, I thought the AI bubble would burst in 2025, and it's not going to burst anytime soon, or it will just kind of, I think, convert into something else, and there will be no bubble burst. Everybody was surprised. And I mean, because I'm in deep tech and semiconductor deep tech, which is a very specific space, I was super surprised, for example, that a company, probably some of you heard, Celestial AI, they are building a hardware product, and they were acquired for $5 to $6 billion with almost no product. But with a big promise. They have a product, they have a demo, but it's mind-blowing. It's a surprise that people are willing to pay so much.
So as you think about 25 and valuations compared to 23, 24, putting aside AI, because the valuations, I think a lot of companies have seen that with my clients, just crazy, crazy valuations. But generally, how were pre-money valuations in 25 as compared to maybe 24 and 23?
I think it's a bifurcated world, right? There is the AI world, and you cannot ignore it. I mean, there's too many companies hanging on it, and there's also too many companies trying to be there. Right now, everyone physical AI who was just a legit hardware company last year. So I think you cannot ignore it. But I see for the rest of the world, it's still very tough. I see down rounds, I see still flat rounds, something what also happened in 23, 24. I still saw this in 25.
And I was just going to add that I agree with you on the, thought that the AI bubble would pop. And I think what we're going to see is a slow deflating, but basically now AI means software. So if we're talking about AI in the future, we're just talking about software. And if we're talking about software in the future, we're just talking about AI. So I think it gets really unclear what AI even means now.
Yeah, I mean, there's AI first and AI enabled, and most companies at some point in some way are going to be AI enabled. Bill, you've got a sort of a perspective. You've got a global
Well,
perspective.
yeah, I mean, okay. So in terms of the trend line, again, we kept on thinking that maybe valuations would soften or come down. But, again, for the good companies, there's so much money that is piled into this space. It's probably it should thin out a little bit this year, maybe. But there's so much money that's piled into this space that the valuations really have not come down at all. They keep going up. You do see some down rounds. You do see some, companies struggling. It doesn't mean everybody can get funded, but the guys that get funded, the teams that have, some momentum, boy, the valuations just keep going up. But to the point about AI as software, yeah, I mean, your comment is other than AI. Well, there ain't nothing. I mean, there ain't nothing other than AI. It's, we see it sort of in every corner: hardware, software, material science, life science, space tech. You can't find a sector where AI is not a component of any reasonable solution that's being applied today.
Given the funding environment last year, did you notice any differences in terms of the way founders were actually approaching funding?
Yeah, look at Marissa Mayer. She had Sunshine Contacts, and then in 2024, she just decided to call it Sunshine AI. And this is a Silicon Valley luminary, right? Yeah, she claims to herself, but so she shut that down after, claim to fame, 15th employee at Google, Gmail. Yeah, but Gmail is scary. But I mean, it was disgusting. There was friends and family telling me, "Hey, are you looking at AI companies?" I go, "Well, not if the name's in it, because I'm telling them it's software." I'm so glad Dan said that, because I've been saying it's software. Okay, that's all it is, software. And you can sprinkle it in AI anywhere you want, or you can have generative AI, which is the entree, okay, where you're inventing something and you're building intellectual property.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, given sort of the shift, to AI, were people raising differently? Were they bootstrapping longer? Were they, raising earlier? Did you notice any noticeable change?
Put their name on.
Yeah.
Well, I would just to John. I mean, the thing that is astonishing about this wave is that the speed with which some of these companies are gaining traction is unprecedented. I mean, so, in terms of first of all, the LLMs. I mean, OpenAI from 0 to $20 billion as a software company in 4 years? What's the right number there? I'm going to lose track. But 0 to $20 billion, and then we see all of these other, sort of next generation AI apps, agentic AIs. Some of these guys are going from 0 to 200 million in revenues in 12, 18 months. So, it is an extraordinary difference in sort of the history of innovation, the speed with which some of these new companies with new products are able to generate traction, revenues. And again, partly it's because software is relatively easy compared to hardware. And so it's been pretty astonishing.
And you kind of wonder on those companies, because we had a company that did a demo. They launched in April, and at the end of the year, there were $100 million in ARR, right? But you kind of wonder, they've got something, it was PLG, and is it sustainable? Like, until the next thing, comes along and people switch. OpenAI has got such a head start on everybody, and Anthropic and companies like that. But you kind of wonder about some of these companies where they'll be in five years' time. Yeah.
Yeah. And so one of the things I wanted to go by was, you're talking about having AI in the name. And so there's a proliferation of like everybody saying AI, agentic AI. And they get up there and they think, oh, it's AI. It's like a magical word. And you're just supposed to go, oh, ooh, ah. And so one of the things I've learned to tell these AI companies and agentic companies, tell me what your company does without using the word AI and agentic. Like, what does your product do? What problem does it solve? Throwing the word AI has just gotten too easy.
I do think there's something real there that's happening, and that it is accelerating a trend that we've seen for the last few decades, that not only do we see companies scale revenue faster, but the cost of getting there has gone down. The cost of building has been on this sort of monotonic decline for a couple decades. And in a whole large category of problem sets, the curve has gotten a lot steeper in the price decline because of AI, the real AI.
Yeah, I mean, you guys probably remember, I mean, I started in late 90s in Silicon Valley. You know, Series A was $5 million, and it was like to really build something. Now you're doing it with $100,000. It's like crazy.
My exact Series A, 5 million. Had to go higher speed.
I am going to strongly disagree with my esteemed colleague. No, seriously. No, I've heard this literally for decades. Gee, because of, the cloud, and gee, because of, open source, and gee, because of all these new technologies, it's so much easier to build a product and launch a company. Well, yeah, kind of, sort of, but it's enormously expensive now to scale a company in terms of getting through the noise, because there's so much noise. It's really hard to find a successful company that isn't now taking tens of millions of dollars to scale, mainly because the money's there and the competition and the noise is there. And so you're seeing companies, I think theoretically it should be cheaper.
Well, it's 100% cheaper at the seed stage. But when you're getting later stage and you're in a bloodbath fight with like getting customers, well then yeah, you got to spend money on that. There's no way around that problem. But to get product market fit and show that there's a there, which is where 90% of startups die, or at least 80%, at least getting to that point has gotten a lot cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree. The infrastructure costs at the barrier stage to build the MVP, to get Anyway, let's get into 26, but we can revisit this in another setting. So, just panelists, are you preparing for a more investor-friendly or founder-friendly 26?
Founder-friendly by far, for sure. Intellect in the founders and execution.
From what I'm seeing is like fundraising cycles are taking longer than expected, and so I see that just continuing to 2026. Beyond that, I don't know, but 2026 it'll continue to be long cycles and longer than expected fundraising times.
I mean, I still see the bifurcation I mentioned before. There are companies there, raised already a substantial round, either because, they got the famous VCs in their round before, or because they have very early, very quick, a lot of revenue. It's easy for them to fundraise, and it's definitely founder friendly because it's a hot deal and everyone wants to get in. But there's still a lot of hardcore deep tech hardware related companies, and for them it's not necessarily easier. Yeah, fundraising takes a long time, and it's not necessarily very founder friendly. It's probably same old.
I think for the super hot ones, they'll always be able to raise money. If you're in the top decile, your life is easy. But for the median, I think it's seed. It's staying relatively founder friendly, and that Series A and later is like still pretty hard.
Yeah, I think that's the experience I'm having with my clients at the Series A stage. You have to be special. You have to really, have a differentiator and some great KPIs. Did you want to talk about anything else? So what, Dan, did you want to add?
Yeah, I just had one quick comment on that. So one of the things that we're doing this year is launching an organization called the Founders Guild. And the Founders Guild is all about two things: improving quality of life and financial outcomes for founders. So we're actually working on some new terms that we hope will eventually become industry standard, that will better align founder and funder interests, because we see a lot of waste occurs and a lot of decimation of otherwise good companies happens when the founder and funder interests are at odds. And I think right now industry standard terms tend to create unnecessary friction in some areas. So that's one of the things that we're working on.
Give us some examples of.
Oh, I mean, just yeah. We'll talk later about that. You don't want to get me all riled up
I want to
here.
prepare everybody. I want them to have actionable takeaways here tonight.
But I think there's this idea oftentimes that the founder gets things started, but then, more capable people come and take over the company. And it tends to be that in term sheets and in operating documents, a lot of times, there are a lot of ways that boards can take action against founders. And I think that those tools are used prematurely most of the time and ends up doing a lot of damage to otherwise great companies. So giving more control to the founders to run and stay in control of their companies longer term.
What's your opinion on that, Bill?
I ain't investing in that term sheet. No investor worth their salt invests in a founder that they want to remove, right? There's this meme throughout history in Silicon Valley that, goddamn those VCs, they invest in my company and then they kick me out, right? And so we have some histories there. Yeah, right, exactly. And so, one of, my mentors in venture capital world, would tell me, I've never kicked a founder out too soon. Now, whether or not that's true, that's a fair question. But generally, my experience, and I think this, obviously there's differences, but our intention, we have no desire to kick out the founder. And it's almost always too late when the board finally gets its gumption together and says, this ain't working. And so the idea that somebody's going to put together a term sheet that gives founders sort of more tenure, that ain't Silicon Valley.
Yeah, I think that's a tall ask. I'd love to see that succeed, for founders. But, the reality is, founders that I see that are really great, that execute, don't get booted out. Now, they may take it to a certain level, and I don't know what your experience is in terms of the founders that take it from founding through to unicorn or decacorn stage. It's pretty slim, that percentage. But would love to see it.
Yes, I will be interested to hear about what you're doing. We were having a problem with safes.
Yeah.
No VC wants to invest in a safe. But because it's been a founder's market, we invest in safes. We'd much rather invest in a convertible note than a safe. And they're roughly the same, except that Y Combinator has made safes sort of the de rigueur for early stage companies. So what the heck, we swallow and we do it.
One thing I'm not agreeing with you. We don't invest in founders we want to replace, because if we see a very, very good technology and even an early product market fit, but we see flaws in the founders from the beginning and we talk to them and we want to better understand whether they are eventually willing to step down. And if they are not, then this is a red flag and then we don't invest. So I disagree and then I agree. Because
good nuance.
Because I think founders also need to be flexible, but therefore, whatever you're planning to do, you have to motivate them still to work for the company, to stay in the company, and to support the company because they started something off the ground, and you have to appreciate that.
I think it goes right to the very early stage when you're interacting with a VC, and I counsel my clients all the time to say, make sure that you have an alignment in terms of your vision and the expectation of the VC. Because I find that investors do so much diligence on founders, and the founders do so little diligence on not only the venture firm, but also the venture partner that's going to be sitting on the board that's really going to control some really important decisions. And having that real discussion before you take the check to make sure that there are alignment on whatever values are most important to the founders, whatever they are, and they may be different for different founders, but just making sure that there's that alignment of vision, I think takes care of a lot of friction down the road. Doesn't mean they won't be replaced, but I think it's really critical.
Here on founders doing due diligence on VCs. Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's like 10% of all founders actually call my references. 10%. I don't know, it's almost shocking. They would be so much better off if they actually call it.
So do you give your founders references to call?
I have two answers. First answer is anybody that you can link to that knows me is fair game. Please do that. Those are going to be your highest quality references. And then if whatever you can't find that person or one of those people, then yes, I'll hand you 3 or 4 references you can call.
How about the rest of you folks? Are you okay with founders going onto your website, picking some logos, calling the CEO, saying, "Hey, 2020, how did the VC react when that black swan, according to Sequoia, hit?"
I think we do at DNA Partners, we do it a little differently. We are off the radar. I don't want to compete with everyone in Silicon Valley. So we're under the radar, especially, USA and China when we were doing it for a decade. Our due diligence was very mutual with the founders, where we had 2 different cultures running. One of our partners is mainland Chinese from Shanghai. But here's how we did it. We did a lot of meals together, and we invited significant others to those meals. And then we considered the significant other a silent board of director on that startup company, because basically the significant other and the founder are board of directors. It's their savings account and it's their time that they're utilizing together. And when you're working with the company, it's time away from their family, right? So that means that significant other could ask us any question at the dinner table as well. And then also we found that the U.S. citizens that were investors and for our partners, we had more contacts in China than the Chinese citizens, because we were traveling around, going to conferences, meeting executives, large companies in the ministry. So it was a good organic, mutual.
So you talked about questions being asked. Bill, what are some of the questions that you think, man, founders really should be asking VCs before they take their money?
Well, again, you understand the psychological challenge in this particular scenario. If you're a founder and you've got an investor kind of with the term sheet, and you've finally got over that threshold, there is a psychological sort of hesitation to then say, now I really want to check your references. Now, every VC I've ever met says, boy, we would love them to check our references. And, and they stand up and they say, check my references, right? And so, but there's still a psychology here that is challenging for entrepreneurs. So I get it, why they don't. But God, yes, I get lots and lots of entrepreneurs who have tracked me down, and the one that I like the most, I think, that comes up pretty frequently is tell me about your worst investment. Or tell me about your biggest failure. So they know my background, they know my investment history for the most part, and so they can see some things that didn't work out quite well, and so it would be a reasonable question to ask out of curiosity. Bill, tell me, and that I think is a clever way to engage with an investor on a conversation without saying, I want to check your references because I'm not sure if I really trust you and I really want your money, right?
Yeah, I wasn't really thinking about the references. I was thinking more on a deeper level, the conversations that founders should be having with the investors, the investment partner that's going to be sitting on the board. What are some of the things that should really be canvassed?
Yeah. So I was going to go back, what Joe had said about, the dinner, and I like that idea, and I think that's great. And I don't think, like you're just saying, founders search enough and ask a lot of questions. My GP and I, we have great conversations with people, and they get really, into it, and they're, we're very transparent, and they're drawn to that. And then I think they forget, what's their due diligence that they need to do. Because I even have some we do seed and Series A, and I get pre-seed people, and then they throw their deck, and I was like, no, and then they're like, well, why did you answer so quickly? I said, well, if you even read the bio that I have, you'll see that it says seed and Series A. So just even taking the time to read your LinkedIn profile, feed it through Chat GPT if you don't have time,
On the topic of the conversations to have and the frame of mind, I think many entrepreneurs are feeling like, hey, I'm selling the venture investor. I got to convince them to part with money to buy equity in my company so that I can have the capital I need to hire people and go to execute. And that's sort of like, I mean, yes, but the next tier of entrepreneurial skill and capability moves past simple selling and moves towards, wait, I'm signing up to be a partner with this investor for a long ass time. Let's explore. And it's not a hostile thing. It's like we're working together to explore the realities that we're trying to uncover as we move forward together in building a company. And the entrepreneurs who have that level of confidence, who instead of trying to sell you all the time, let me tell you another point about how awesome my company is. And instead is saying, here's the thing I don't know that I'm trying to figure out. How would you go about that? Then you're having a real, honest conversation.
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
Well, when it comes to raising money or running a company, confidence is everything. And I think that's the point you're making. When the founder truly knows what they're doing, that confidence comes through. And you're not trying to sell your company to investors. You're trying to vet which investors you're going to take money from. And whether or not that's true, that needs to be true, if that makes sense, right? Because it just doesn't work any other way for the founder, because once you take money from somebody that you've had to convince, you've had to sell to, you're already at a disadvantage, and you might as well not even do that because it's probably going to be the worst decision you make.
I'm going to add on. We need to really think. We're in Silicon Valley bubble here, right? We're talking about AI. We're talking about how to approach an investor and do due diligence. I think we all have to acknowledge, especially on the panel, that there's different generations. So we have Gen X, Gen Y, which is millennial, Gen Y, millennial, and Gen Z. And how a Gen Z person asks anyone a question is very different than a Gen Xer. Very, very different. And so we have to acknowledge, like, how do we psychologically listen to the different generations? And then if we're doing business in other cultures, right, we have to really consider that as well. And so we always have to have more listening than talking, right? But always the multiple layers of dimensions when we're talking about a dialogue between a startup and a venture capitalist.
And I think entrepreneurs don't really understand, by the time they get a term sheet, all the hoops that a VC's had to jump through to get that term sheet to that investor, falling in love with that founder, with the idea, with their prospects, the ability to execute, selling their partners, going through the partner meeting, getting that term sheet. And I think they don't realize, what it takes, and that they can be honest, they can be open with them. You kind of disagreeing?
No, that's really.
Yeah.
I agree heartily with all of my panelists.
Whenever anyone says with due respect, I know it means with utmost disrespect. But anyway, so just as we look at 2026, what sectors, we know it's all about AI, but what sectors do you expect to dominate the venture allocation in 26?
I have no idea.
I will say some things, and then you should chime on. I think defense will still grow. I think energy, particularly also fusion continuing and fission coming back, because we need more energy for all these crazy data centers. The whole data center technology, chips and connectivity and whatnot. I think space will become big. I fear and assume there will be a even bigger robotics bubble in 26. I think we just see the start of it. Exactly. And
go ahead.
I think health tech is one of the areas that it really see a lot of changes. There's a lot of, kind of what's the word, like archaic systems that need to be updated, and like AI in these systems could do tremendous efficiency, diagnostics, helping to cure diseases and detect diseases. So I think health tech is really making a good play for going forward.
I think everything related to AI will see big dollars flow in until the moment that it becomes out of fashion, and then it will be not only difficult for the startups, but I think there'll be a lot of difficult ancillary problems for the data center and electrical folks who project financed these gigantic things with money that's not really designed to take that kind of risk, right? It's designed to build power supplies that, like work that the money flows back to you 99% of the time. And, there's still a lot of risk and uncertainty in how things will unfold in AI. And if it slows down, like maybe the trees will grow to the sky, but if they don't, then I think a lot of big players adjacent to that who've been pouring a bunch of equity, thinking that they're pouring debt-style money in, are taking equity-style risk in a very speculative way, and it's going to be a mess when they go down.
So, you mentioned there's this plethora of AI companies that are going to be looking for funding. What's going to differentiate those that can raise and those that can't raise in 26?
Traction.
Revenue growth.
And the answer.
So I guess it depends at what stage, right? Because if you're building for the enterprise and you're going for an early seed, you're not going to really have traction. Or do you expect?
I'm sorry.
The market is so
My
bloated.
distinguished colleague is telling us that you can launch any software company over the weekend with your credit card. And so I don't, what are you saying to that?
Definitely not me.
I'm pretty much agree. Yeah, like if you can't get to revenue,
That's right, but that's the differentiator, right? Because again, any now literally high school student can launch an agentic AI application, no code, whatever, and pick a vertical, any vertical, and launch a company. And so there's gonna, we're seeing a plethora of those companies. And so the differentiator is going to be momentum, traction, their ability to get people to pay.
But is that realistic if you're selling into large enterprise, like that you're going to do your first seed round, $1 million and have traction in large enterprise? Is that realistic?
It's the deal. It's the deal.
I know you're saying it's the relative norm, right? And you're going to say it's going to carry into 2026, but let's step out of the box. I mean, come on. Open AI isn't even open. Basically, open bloat. I mean, it's bloated like anything we've ever seen, okay? So let's not be a participant in that ecosystem around OpenAI and all the other ones. Let's try to differentiate in a different way, and I have an idea.
Okay.
And also, I just have to get this statement in here. AI is just Web 2.5. It's just put a layer on top of 2.0 like black ice on tar. It's called slippery. It's 2.5 internet, and it's
Don't hold back, Joe. Tell us how you really feel.
Bloated.
Yeah, Bill.
You can. I mean, I appreciate that, Joe, but you cannot deny the revenue generation that these companies have been able.
Actually, you
to
can
create.
deny. As a founder, you can deny, and you're going to be like, no, I'm not going to be Marissa Mayer and just go put my AI title on the name. I'm not going to do that as a founder.
No, what I'm saying is if you generate $200 million in revenue, that's not Web 2.5. That is a different world.
I think it depends on the vertical that you're in. It doesn't have to be Silicon Valley trends. Okay, it could be.
Well, let's just change.
So I think there are two things that I look at.
Lovable.
Two things that I look at. One is the company actually an AI company or are they an AI wrapper company?
Yeah, wrapper companies are dead, right? I mean, they're not fundable.
Yes. And do they have real customers? Right? Customer is what we look at. And there are lots of companies out there that get really far without a customer on paper valuations, right? But what we're looking at when we're trying to make an investment decision in our investment committee is, do they have a real customer? Not because we want that revenue. Do they have a real customer so that they understand what they're actually trying to build?
How about a POC? Is a POC a customer?
It depends. It can be, but most of the time we want to see the company making a commitment, investing.
Yeah. I hear different opinions from VCs as to unpaid or paid POCs as to whether or not it's something that really points to market fit or traction. Some people say, some VCs have said, if you get into large enterprise and you're integrated with a POC, that is meaningful.
Well, okay, this is your later question we're never going to get to, which is that pretty much every entrepreneur misunderstands what product market fit means. And this is just a warning to all of you guys. Just because you have, well, God bless, just because you have a POC, do not suggest you have product market fit. But even if you have 2, 3, whatever, even if you have customers, that doesn't mean you have product market fit. And that's maybe it's another session. But be very careful about asserting product market fit when it still is harder and harder for you to get the next customer.
So what is product market fit? Is it repeatable sales process that's demonstrated?
Basically. So the way we think about it is, if your CAC, when you scale up a company, CAC always goes up, right? I mean, because your first customers are friends and family. And so we got, the first 20,000 downloads without spending a dime on marketing. I love that one. We get that all the time, right? So then you actually have to spend a dime, and then you have to spend more than that. And so you start having to spend money to scale your business. And so just because you've got a lot of customers doesn't mean you've got product market fit if every new customer costs more for you to get. You don't have product market fit until it gets easier for you to have customers, or until your LTV to CAC, we look at it in a few different ways, but, and it depends on your consumer and whatever enterprise, but stop suggesting that just because you've now got 2 customers, you have product market fit, even though, one is your cousin and the other is whatever, right?
How important is it to you folks here that a company has a moat? You get this all the time from investors, what's the moat? What's your moat? At the seed stage, will a company have a moat? Maybe at the later stage, but what are you expecting?
Yeah, you can apply for a patent in a seed stage for sure.
If someone comes to you with a provisional, are you looking in there and going, yeah, that's a moat?
I have to look at the whole spectrum, right, of course. But, there's other attributes. Testimonial, honest life.
I mean, in deep tech, and we have some deep tech investors here, there's definitely can be a very early mode, whether, the technology is patented yet or not. If it is very, very hard to rebuild, and if the people who are building this and inventing this are super specialized and they were working on this maybe even in their garage for years, then no one else can easily replicate then, and that's definitely a mode, even when the company is very early.
Well, I feel when people are like, we have no competition, no one's doing what we're doing, they either don't know the competition or they don't know their market enough, which is a problem. So there is someone out there, and what does that look like? Maybe it's small, but there's no such a thing as no competition. Like,
I
get
push
back
back
to
on that one. I only invest in that few percent that don't have competition, but it is like 2 or 3%. And then it's not a white-black thing. It is how close is the closest substitute? And then there's some judgment there. But I think on the question of moat, I think this is the number one big challenge and question around a lot of AI companies, not just the wrapper ones, but like even a really great scaling company like a Cursor is the standard question of any dev tools, which is like, well, what happens when the new one comes out that's shinier and faster and better and cheaper? And won't the customers all jump onto that? And I think that's like the fundamental challenge in a lot of these models.
So how are you folks evaluating that at the early stage? Is it the team that's the moat, the team that can execute at that early stage? I mean, what are you asking? What are you looking?
So I'm maniacally focused. This is the second most important thing I focus on is defensibility. And it really depends. Sometimes you really actually have a technical moat or you have a patent moat. That's pretty rare in the world that I live in. Mostly I'm investing in software companies. So it's usually the business model, and the acid test is as you get bigger, do you become inherently more valuable to the customer you have yet to land? And if that's a material yes, then I think it's a defensible business model. And honestly, that's a very small minority of all companies out there.
I guess, Eric, I guess I would need to hear an example of one of your start to exits, because I'm thinking about like gunpowder. That's that's a new invention. Software that the first person to create the wheel.
So investment I made last year, landline for kids called Tin Can. Calls from can to can are free. So as the network gets bigger, when the copycat shows up 2 years from now, Copycan or whatever, do you want Copycan that no one is on, or do you want Tin Can, the one that all your friends at school are on? You're inherently more valuable.
That's a market. That's a demographic market. That's not a new invention. Okay, you mean like messaging? Is that what we're talking about?
No, literally a landline, the Wi-Fi landline for kids
with a cotton string.
That's the knock on it. It's the network.
How about data? Is data the moat? The way in which companies are collecting data, manipulating data, is that a moat?
In some cases, yes, definitely. Data in combination with vertical knowledge.
And customers.
All right. Rob,
I'd interject. I didn't mean to be rude to Eric at all. I was really curious about what it was.
It was said with respect.
Yeah, exactly. So I wasn't at all, but I just want to hear like, wow, what, let's see what this derivative could be, because my last comment on that is we overuse the word revolutionize. Oh, we're revolutionizing, but Eric is revolutionizing. I'm evolutionizing, So that's the big difference here. I just want to highlight that.
I was just at CES and I couldn't tell you the number of companies I saw that were the first in the world. Like every single one was the first this, the first that. And I'm like, nope.
Right,
nope.
and then the other five were just down the aisle, right? That's the nature of CES, right?
Chairman Mao didn't revolutionize the wall, okay? And Steve Jobs didn't revolutionize a closed architecture app store. There's nothing revolutionizing about it. Steve Jobs didn't put the internet in our pocket, okay?
So Rob's going to start.
Well, there's MySpace and Facebook, right?
Yeah.
It was a defensible back then.
Yeah, way before MySpace, Nokia, social network.
Okay, Rob's giving us the 1 minute time signal, so he'll give it to us another 10 times.
This was even more fun than last time, I have to say.
Kidding. So let's just get some, I want to get some real actionable takeaways here for the folks in the room. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see founders making in the fundraising process?
Oh, clinging to VC. Oh my gosh, you say VC and they're like, no, do your research. One, do they invest in your industry? Two, in your stage, and three, in your market. So, the minimum.
100% agree with that, and you can do that desk research, right? You can go on PitchBook or Crunchbase, and
with misinformation,
and find the 30 or 40 firms and individual partners at those firms that are a fit for your size, your geography, your sector, all the attributes of your round of funding. That's your target list, and then work your way towards them. That's a process of work. Showing up to a bunch of, I love these networking events, but this is not a super efficient way to find investors.
Yeah, and also what I want to add on this is listening to the VCs, listening and asking them questions. Because I see too many startups pitching and they just want to get their pitch off their chest and they don't ask questions and they don't listen. And they don't see the science. There's a book I read recently. It's apparently a couple of years old, but I read it only like a couple of weeks ago. It's called The Mom Test. If you did the Mom Test, many people know it. It's like 3-4 years old, I think. The punchline is if you cannot explain your mom what you are doing, you're not pitching correctly. And it's also about, getting the right feedback and getting the right clues and then not, chasing the VCs and, trying to catch up with them because you didn't read the fine print that they don't want to talk to you anymore.
I think one of the number one mistakes is believing the stuff they read on LinkedIn. It's mostly lies, guys. As a matter of fact, we're starting a podcast called Everyone Lies in Silicon Valley. If you have good stories, come see me.
All right. So
I just
where
wanna say- I think
should people be getting information from?
Easy one.
About folks, about, obviously top tier funds, word of mouth, but for funds that aren't as well known or people that aren't as well known, where should they go to find the information?
Network. I mean, you got to get out there. You got to get out there, and you can sit behind your computer and you can look at a whole bunch of lists, but you're going to get swamped by the lists. You really got to connect with people and find that pathway, that personal human pathway, into the door. It's not about a database, and it's not about emails, and it's about finding that personal human pathway into the door. But then the biggest mistake that entrepreneurs make, and Yvonne, I so thought you were gonna, when Yvonne started saying, I read a book recently, it came out a few years ago, I thought she was gonna talk about my book. Just break my heart. So
You didn't pay me enough.
So in any case, I wrote a book called Getting to Wow, Silicon Valley Pitch Secrets for Entrepreneurs. And so now you can just go buy the book and you'll find out all the mistakes and all the right things that you need to do. But the main thing that I just, for a takeaway, given that probably you're not all going to buy the book, maybe, I don't know. But the takeaway is so many entrepreneurs spend their time trying to describe what they are doing. And what we need from you is to be able to articulate a compelling value proposition that is going to make your customers say, I can't live without this, and come with credible proof that what you are saying is true, which is what we talked about in terms of initial traction or signals that you've got something going that nobody else can do. So again, it's compelling value proposition with proof.
So where do you see the weakest link? Where do you see the weakest link in pitches if you kind of have, just one sentence where you see founders falling flat on the
I wanted to go back on the point where he was talking about, like, one of the things you can do is meeting VC, like going out, like meet them way before you need the money. Like, you're starting to raise tomorrow. Okay, let's go to the event tonight. No, like 6 months out, however much farther you can be ahead of your fundraising cycle, make those relationships, meet those people, meet their people.
Yeah, boots on the ground experience here. USA, China, Korea, Japan, Singapore, Thailand, Philippines. Gen Z is supposed to be the internet researchers. They're the ones that come least with the competitive landscape to me.
Wow.
So that's just highlight that.
Yeah.
They're very assumptive.
Yeah. So, but again, to I guess Joe's comment. So there's on the internet you can find the top 10 lies of entrepreneurs, which was a combination of article and video and whatever. But so Guy and I decided, but to complement that, to again Joe's point, we also did the top 10 lies of VCs. So you can find them both somewhere on the internet, whether you're Gen Z or whatever.
Just question that's sort of off topic here. Is there one operational KPI that you wish founders would at least acknowledge or focus on that they're just not, focusing on?
I would love it if they just pick one. I mean, most of the time, it's like every new conversation, it's a new set of facts and no continuity of what's the most important KPI and tracking it and reporting it on an ongoing basis. And every business model is different. And I don't want to say the one KPI that rules them all is X, because different business models need different KPIs.
About an operational KPI as opposed to, more of a product KPI, not the CAC or the LTV. Is there anything that you wish entrepreneurs would focus on more in their business, not necessarily their selling or their product?
I'm a big fan of CAC payback. Like, how many months does it take to get the cash back in the door? But it's not for every business model.
So if you're not going to allow us to talk about CAC, which I like Eric's point, then I would say, entrepreneur, talking to me, I want to know, how many customers have you talked to in the last week? I mean, that's kind of an operational KPI. I mean, you get the point, right? Yeah. The point is, we don't want you, sitting in your office, wherever it is, and reading the internet. We want you out there talking to customers. And that's, other than financial metrics and momentum metrics or revenue metrics, we have those too, but as an quote unquote operational KPI.
I want to end off just on your point, Ellen, getting to know the VC and the VC getting to know you. There's a VC that I work with. They take the opportunity when they're interested in the company to follow them for 3, 4, or 5 weeks, and they're in constant contact with them, and they're identifying what they're doing in that 3, 4, 6-week period of time and how they're sort of progressing. They're not expected to build a product, in 6 weeks, but how they're progressing, whether it's hiring, whether it's development or whatever. And this VC said it's so telling and such a predictor of the future in terms of the execution ability of the team. Anyway, Rob's been telling us it's the end for the last 10 minutes. So I think we're going to respect Rob here. I want to thank the panel. Great panel, great interaction. And hopefully you folks have gotten some real actionable takeaways. Q&A?
Hang on. So first of all, panelists, you exceeded expectations. Of course, you exceeded the time limit, but it's always the moderator's fault. Every single time. So normally we do 30 minutes of Q&A. How about 20 minutes of Q&A? That'll take us to 8:45. Is that okay? I know you believe in work-life balance, right? So first of all, how can audience members contact you? Bill? How can audience members contact you? Do you want to be contacted?
Yes, it's Bill at Pegasus.
Use the mic.
It's Bill at PegasusVentures.com.
Yvonne. Use the mic. Use the mic.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, find me on LinkedIn.
Ellen, use the mic.
LinkedIn is just my first and last name.
Joe.
LinkedIn, but I'm rarely on it. I don't respect it. I'm only on since 2022. I took myself off in 2007, so I was not on from 2007 to 2022. But back on, find me on LinkedIn, or literally tackle me at the door tonight.
Best as always, email for me, Eric, ERIC, at tunitas.vc.
Right.
Yep. LinkedIn.
All right. Oh, if you want to contact me, talk to Melissa. Email only, right, Bill? Bill loves email. So now it's time for audience Q&A. So if you have a question for our panelists, step right up. We have a line. Try and keep it short and sweet. Just one question, BJ. And it's not a pitch event, so do not deliver a pitch. If you deliver a pitch, you have to deal with Melissa, our bouncer.
You on the ladder? So I'm just going to ask the question that Roger asked of Bill. Sorry. I'm just going to repeat the question that Roger asked of Bill. Anything in particular in the pitch that you do not like or you may want to actually help the founders guide through? That was one of his questions. So I'm just asking that. And I'm asking your question back to you. Wish you have stories of, tell me more about the biggest disaster that you invested in. And why didn't you see it coming? And the bigger question, and that goes for everyone. If you guys can take a moment to, share your vulnerability, that would be really, truly appreciated.
I'm so sorry. We don't have time for you to hear my disaster story, and you don't have time to hear my top 10 list of founder mistakes. But I'll just start with, number one is don't start with the problem.
Interesting. What was exactly the question?
I was following on Roger's question, which got lost. The question was that he asked was anything in particular that you don't that you want to guide founders and specifically identify their mistakes during pitches that they give to you. That was his question. And I was just asking Bill's point, which was list, the items that, the things that you failed in. And why didn't you see it coming?
No,
And what did you learn from it?
yeah, the biggest failure is it's another story, but it's a good one, Rob. We should do a panel on that one. Germans believe in lesson learned. Here in Silicon Valley, it's not so much. When founders don't listen and don't want to listen, that's my pet peeve, definitely.
I don't like it when founders lie, and it's easy to verify that they've lied to me. And they do so often.
Yeah, definitely don't lie about your revenue. We had one that lied us 50, it was actually 50% of their revenue. So yeah, don't do that.
Business plan, PowerPoint, presentation, whatever you want to call it, cover who, what, where, when, why, and how. You wouldn't believe, I know it's subjective, but how many presentations we view and we have no idea.
Good advice there. I think the overarching general advice would be to be less focused on your own navel and more focused on communicating with the human being across the table from you. And it's less about pitching more and more and more about can you connect with that human and have them draw out from you what is so awesome about your business.
I think one of the mistakes I consistently see, especially at the earlier stage, is founders paying people to build their models and not understanding, what their model is really all about, and getting a question about why a certain number is in a certain cell and saying, great question, I will ask the person that prepared the model and get back to you. It's like a kiss of death, right? If you're asking someone for money and you don't really understand your financial model, it's tough.
Thank you. Rex Young. My background is healthcare, but I've moved from academia, medtech, failed medtech, now addressing diseases of despair. So about business sector and investment, Bill, we were talking about philosophy before with Jared Diamond, but you mentioned that the one you would not invest in is marijuana, and I agree, that's But what about psychedelics? After all, Eric mentioned about the acid test, and in Germany it's approved, or at least in Switzerland it's given, supervised way, medically.
Yeah,
and this is actually for the whole panel.
No, I get that there's real legitimate science behind this microdosing kinds of approaches to treating various things. I think it's just really, really, really hard for venture capital to invest in that, just because the pathways are so challenging for a venture investor. I think, that stuff, the microdosing stuff, needs to be left to research institutions. Maybe you'll find some VCs that'll do it, but I don't think it's a good shot to go after the VCs.
I would say not just microdosing, macrodosing, hero dosing, life-changing dosing, but supervised.
I think VCs have got, so many choices, for scalable businesses that are proven. It's,
Well, macro, that's called Burning Man, isn't it? Is that?
Yeah.
The original design. Thank you, guys. All right. Big stop.
All right. Thank you, everybody. John Casray. Good to see you. And good to see you, Alan. Go Gators. Go Gators. My question is regarding you touched base upon it, the human-to-human interaction, right? What are some other ways that you've seen, or maybe a founder? As I'm a founder of a company myself, we help prevent water leakages in data centers and infrastructure. But what kind of approaches have you seen that has worked out in building a strong relationship with that founder or whatnot? And Alan, you touched base upon this, building that up way in advance before you need to fundraise.
Yeah, so if you're gonna send a LinkedIn connection, send a note with it. We get found all the time. Like, we can't hide. So send a thoughtful note that you've read what we're about and, and a specific ask, right? Can I pick your brain? I mean, about what? You want to talk about microdosing? I mean, what are we talking about here? So be very specific. Like, I'm working on this special thing, this data center, water leakage. What do you see as the biggest problem in data centers, right? Like something specific.
I really like to point out that as humans, we think we're logical, but there's a tremendous amount of research that proves that we're not. We make decisions emotionally and we use logic to justify them. And that's just the way it works. People do business with people they like, whether they realize it or not. Be likable. If you can create some kind of personal connection with that VC, the chances of them figuring out why you're a good investment goes way, way up.
Are there any characteristics of entrepreneurs that when you see them really make you want to lean in? So that likability, but in terms of successes you've had, characteristics that match that, is there anything in particular?
I like fail. Yeah, people who have experience failure, because until you failed at least once, you have no clue.
I really like to focus on them getting stuff done, and execution, and seeing the revenue. Like if it's at a revenue stage, that it's growing in a way that is impressive. If it's a different business model and that's not the right metric, that they're getting the things done that show that they're maniacally focused on building a real business, not LARPing their way through the startup game.
Can I? Regulatory issues. Consider regulatory issues. Silicon Valley is known not to do this, to consider through Washington, D.C. But now the big conglomerates are obviously pleasing, the leader. But always consider the regulatory issues, whatever product you're building.
And a real quick case study example, okay? So it was an event almost exactly like this. It might have been a Rob event, I'm not sure. But afterwards, we were all standing around talking, chatting, and an entrepreneur came up to me and said, Bill, what would you say if I told you we can accelerate big data analytics by a factor of 100x without changing your hardware? And it was like, and I blurted out, the first thing that came to mind, which was, I said, I'd say that you're lying to me. And she did not blink. She just said, what if I told you we proved it last summer with Major League Baseball? And then I said, this is the fastest trip to our partners meeting of any entrepreneur I've ever met. And so got Intel Capital to come into our office with her and her team, and boom. But she exhibited it was more than just a compelling value proposition. It was the way she did it. And the fact that she did not blink when I said that stupid thing that I said. I'd say you're lying. And so her personality, as well as her value proposition, came across in like 20 seconds. It was 20 seconds and she got an invite into our partners meeting. Now.
Yeah, we don't know what year this was. We don't know how it ended. So there's always Theranos, whatever you want to call it, and OpenAI, the overpromise, under-deliver. So I'm just building the contrast, that's all.
The side story is that they got acquired before we could invest. Boom. It was incredible.
Thank you. All right, thanks, Josh. And are they still around, or are they still here?
I don't even know. They got absorbed into another company now.
Osmosis.
Yeah.
Thanks, Melissa. A question for the panel, and I think on behalf of a lot of founders here thinking about the AI versus software challenge. You've put a lot of these pieces out here, but predicting some significant AI bubble deflation coming up, what advice would you have on how bringing your traction story, bringing your solid business understanding, but you're in this world where the buzzword still gets you a lot of attention. How do you navigate that by saying, hey, we have AI in our software, but we're more than that? Like, how do you, as a founder looking ahead 6 to 12 months, start talking about that?
Customers, revenue from customers. That's like the trump card.
Yeah, I think you just have to be prepared. It was kind of like what I talked about earlier when robotics wasn't in favor and now it was in favor and now it's not. I mean, the technology you're using to solve the business problem is irrelevant. It's, are you solving a real business problem, providing real value? Do you have real customers? Will you continue to grow? Those are the things that matter. I don't care I don't care if you're using rubber bands to do it, if you can do it effectively.
Yeah, I would say for any AI solution that you come up with is, one, is it going to be usable by the people that it's going to replace? So if they're salespeople and they've been using this process forever, how are you going to convince them to get onto it? And then the onboarding of it too is, so they're like, oh, we have this great supply chain solution, but it takes 6 months to onboard. I'm like, nobody has that time. That's a luxury, and, make it 2 weeks.
Integrity. I think you convey integrity and be a good person.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Hi, we work on thermal management for GPUs, and we're working with data centers. So we all see this very successful story for Star Cloud to launch their first space data centers. And as Yvonne just mentioned, that space will be one of the hottest areas in 2026. So I'm just wondering, I'm really curious, what is your perspective on space data centers? That is my question.
I was sure that we would have space data centers by now. Because, long ago, far away, I invested in clean tech, and people were saying, boy, if you could put solar cells in outer space, then you beam the energy down. And I was like, no. But if you could put data centers in outer space, it's much easier to beam the data down, right? So it seemed obvious to me that at some point, other than, once we could have enough interaction, you can upgrade your data centers, right, on a reasonable basis. It seemed obvious to me it's going to happen, but I'm not sure it's going to happen this year.
Yeah, I'm fascinated. So I also do some work in data centers, but so I'm fascinated by the move to have data centers in space. I want to take a picture up there and be up there too. And it's already happening. I mean, it's just a matter of time. We have all the ecosystem coming into play, so it's just a matter of time. So
Go for it and prove it. Prove that. Yeah.
No, she was wondering whether she was wondering whether it's going to happen. I'm skeptical, and because I don't think it makes sense, like physically, and I think we have other fish to fry on this planet here, and also other opportunities here. I think it was super expensive. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think one thing that people often forget is what drives most purchase decisions, B2B and B2C, is convenience. Convenience seems to trump almost everything else at the end of the day. So if you can make a really strong convenience play, usually that means you can charge more than you thought you could.
Hi, my name is Ibrahim. I'm building in the sports tech space. And my question was, because there's been so much uncertainty recently regarding visa and immigration, and they're just ping-ponging around all the time, would you say sentiments regarding investing in like an international founder or an international student-led startup changed over the past few months?
That's a good question. So first, my direct answer is no, I have not changed my opinion at all. My indirect answer is I fear for our country that if we no longer are the magnet for the best and brightest in the world and they all go to Dubai or wherever, that it's just bad for the long-term GDP growth and well-being of our country.
I would say, so I've worked with some Canadian people, and I know some companies that move to Canada, then make the move to the U.S. So maybe Canada for 3 years, 3.5 years, U.S., however long that process takes after that. It might be 9 months longer.
He's going to break everything, and where there's chaos, there's opportunity. I really mean that. I truly mean that.
Hi, really glad to meet everyone. I'm Julia. I work in tech companies, mainly leading like data and AI. And now I'm full time like angel investors, help them start up companies from 0 to 1. I see that the AI have make a lot of like unsexy, I think, business model become sexy again. For example, like Scale AI, Search, McCord, those like in the beginning, people think that they are not generating like a recurring avenue, but now like, yeah, they are all multi-billion dollar companies. So by the way, I invest in Surge at 70 million valuation. Yeah, I invest in that company because I knew Advin in person. So yeah, I would love to know, like, get your expertise opinion in the new AI era. Do you see any business model that used to be unsexy but become sexy again? I mean, we talk about like robotics.
I really like seeing when people take a working business and modernize it. It's really easy to go out there and graduate from the university and have some great idea about how I'm going to change the world. But some of the ones I really like is when they go by that laundromat on the corner, they figure out how to make it, a modern business, and then they figure out how to scale that. It's really nice when it's sort of grounded in the reality of a real business. So different from what you do.
I think the playing field is wide open now. That for the last few decades, we've been focused on sort of the SaaS, constrained universe of opportunities, which is basically, hey, there's some broken process in an enterprise or a thing that humans are doing that we're going to sell them some software to do it a little bit more efficiently, and then we're going to try to charge them some fraction of the money associated with the value of their time to do it more efficiently. Which is like, that is a convoluted value proposition. I think in a lot of cases, not all, but in a lot of cases, AI enables you to move one step forward, and instead of trying to make the employee at some big company more efficient, you say, well, why don't you just outsource that job to me? And I'll run the whole dang thing. I'll have some humans who are super excellent at it, and we'll have a software platform, and it'll use some AI and all of these things that solve the job to be done by the enterprise or the end human without having to put the burden on the customer of like, learn the new thing that's my software package.
I just want to expound on that a little bit, because Sam Altman is now defaulting to advertising, which he said he wouldn't, and he said it was false. Advertising is not good for AI. He literally said that. I have the quote on this sheet here. I think I don't have a specific answer. I really like your question, because we always want Silicon Valley thinking outside of the box of business models and defaulting back to good ones. So I would just like to say, let's look to Web3 for some new business transactions and some old ones.
So I would say this is not so much a business process, but an industry. So I think mental health, it used to be, let's not talk about it. Let's pretend we can all work, what is 966? 996, 996. See, I don't work the 996, so, 997. So it's moved from let's not talk about it to this is a real problem. How do we fix it? Apps are out there trying, I feel like they're like a little bit short of what needs to be done, but at least the problem is being addressed, and it's like, let's talk about this. So I think that openness is important.
Sorry, can we just make it real quick, wrap up, because we've got a number of questions, and I know they've been waiting patiently.
Yes, and I just want to really underscore what Eric said. There's this new thing that I call the services to product model. And it used to be that if you brought a services idea to VCs, they'd say, go away, we don't invest in services, services don't scale. And what we're learning now is services can scale when you take this service to product model.
All right, thank you. Next question. Let's try speed it up a bit so we can get through all the questions.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. I'm Angelina. I work at Apple as a software engineer, and I'm curious about this space. I have a quick question. I have a million floating in my head, but I'll ask this one because I think it's really interesting hearing everyone's take on like how much you should invest, how much you want to invest, and kind of which companies to do your investments with. So with regard to that, how do you determine kind of like how much you should invest within a startup? And when you do that, do you kind of think about like, I should expect X amount to be invested in hiring, X amount in resources, and kind of specify that with the founders so that they kind of know what to expect? So
I think every fund is going to be different. You start off with a fund model and you have it in a spreadsheet, and you have like a range of investments you would make and the sizes of them, and you would have that even before you started fundraising for the fund itself. So you come with a pretty well baked set of sizes of checks you would write. And then the second part of the question about what the entrepreneur does is like, the entrepreneur decides how to spend the money or proposes. And then if it sounds crazy, you don't invest. But if it sounds sensible, then you say yes.
I have one, I don't know whether it's controversial, but I have an opinion. And the one slide every startup has on their deck, like how we spend our money, that's the most useless slide. Because, I mean, I've never seen anything very unreasonable. I saw companies later on when we sit on the board, like raising our whatever heads and like, how are you spending so much money on this and that? But on the slides, it's completely useless because it is always like, so much R&D and so much G&A, whatever.
I think some of us might have whiplash from 1999 on this, where it was marketing and advertising. If you build it, they will come, and then they didn't come, and then we had to spend a bunch of money on marketing and advertising. So I think the gray hairs in the room don't want to see money on marketing and advertising.
But to your other question, too much, how much invest? I mean, this depends on the fund, right? I mean, some funds have a very simple philosophy. They make their calculation. The company is so much money worth now, and they expect a certain exit. And some funds say that every company they invest in has, in theory, has to have the potential to be a fund returner. That's a very easy calculation, and I think it's also a good test. But other VCs like us, we are more strategic. For us, it's more like how much money do we want to spend to strengthen the relationship, which is a very, very different setting. So there's no one single answer.
Great, thank you. Stephanie,
Hello.
last question. All right.
Hello, everyone. My name is Stephanie Brown. I'm with Environmental Energy. And my question is, in the climate sector, clean air, what is your take on an environmental patent that could possibly allow advertising at traffic lights? I know.
Doesn't work in China.
It doesn't work in China?
Everyone becomes immune to it.
Well, the purpose of the patent is to inform people at traffic lights about their footprint. So, but to monetize it, because otherwise it becomes a public service thing. So to monetize it, creating some form of sponsorship to create the revenue to pay back the VCs.
I think where you're launched it's okay. I think it'll pivot to somewhere cool.
Okay.
I mean, is that like similar to like having billboards? Like
It's similar to billboard, but it's similar to billboards, but it's a little faster and it's short and it has to pertain to traffic. So the message it has to talk about climate, but it also has to
I feel like when you're at a stoplight, a lot of people are like not even paying attention. They're on their phones and they're going through these things. So I feel that's even more of a distraction and probably dangerous to be like, they're so involved in this and then what's going on. So I think I would invest in it.
Safe factors in there to prevent that from happening, but I'm pretty bored at stoplights and traffic lights. You're just sitting there waiting.
All right. Excellent. Well, thank you again to our panelists for giving of your time. And I think we're almost done.
Well, first, let's give it up for our panel. Applause. Ladies and gentlemen, stay in your seats and for what you've all been looking for, the raffle. So we have 10 prizes, so your odds look very good. So let's start with classic 4-hour work week, Tim Ferriss. Not no 996 here. No, 4-hour work. Roger, want to do the honors? Drum roll, please. Where is
Nikki Gastineau.
Nikki? It's a 4-hour work week. Here, to Nikki. Here, smile for the camera.
I will. And didn't she win last time? That's what I was just thinking. I'm like, wait a second, deja vu.
Okay. Elon Musk by Walter Isaacson. Eric. There is.
I read it too. You see, you've never taught.
Serby. Serby, are you still here? Oh, come on down. Freak out. Gary.
Is it autographed by one of the two?
Well, actually, you guys can autograph it. Did that last week. All right, okay. There we go. Well, that's wrong. That's for you. All right, this is for Joe. Joe, Outliers. You're an outlier. Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. The winner is...
Going to the bottom. Going to the bottom. Many folds. Many folds. Respect that. Bernardo. All right. Fortuna Tech Labs, CEO, Blockchain and AI. Fortuna Tech Labs.
Because
All right. This is for Ellen, Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg. Classic. The winner is...
Carl Roland. Yay. What am I guess? I didn't plan that.
Right, Carl, lean in.
Got good looks now.
One still prefer. What do I say? Okay, hit refresh. Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft. Yeah, not too many heard of this book.
Alan Dyke.
Say it again.
Alan Dyke.
Oh, he's right there.
Thanks so much.
Okay, now we're down to the good stuff. So Mega Millions. Yes, Mega Millions. I think the drawing's for 190 million, right? Mega Millions. Well, it's not just it's Mega Millions. It's not Super Lotto. Winner is
Playman Y.
Almond. So make sure you share it with me, but don't spend it all in one place.
You don't see you the next to the map, we'll know what I.
All right, Bill. Here's another Mega Millions for Bill. So somebody, well, no. Oh, you want to give out your book? Okay. Actually, Bill would like to give out a copy of his book, Getting to Wow, but he didn't bring a copy with him. So we'll get his email address, and he'll make arrangements to meet up with you. You're not going to send him a soft copy. You're going to give him a real thing.
Whatever they want.
Okay. All right. So Bill's book, Getting to Wow. The winner is...
Does that mean I get the Mega Millions?
Yeah, sure.
And the winner is, drumroll, Gregory Galanat.
Gregory, come on down. There he is. Yeah, that guy. So
Wait, don't you already have the book? No.
he wants another one. Get his email address. He'll email it to you. You want a picture of Bill? You want a picture of Bill? Yeah,
You know where to find. Right. Okay.
all right. So, well, you get to do the lottery, Mega Millions. All right, we're almost done. All right, Mega Millions. Someone's going to get funded, maybe.
All right. the potential lucky winner is Ellen Wang.
So now we have real money, a $25 gift card. A Visa card. So someone's going to get funded tonight to the tune of $25. Real money. Eric, winner is
John Kotz. John Kotz.
John going once, going twice. John, you went home. You snooze, you lose. Next. Yeah, that must be a lesson.
Kitty Young.
Kitty, come on down. There we go. Wow. Congratulations. You've been funded tonight.
I talked to Kitty Young tonight, and she is a technologist, back-end developer in Java. Looking for a job.
So one more $25 gift card. Someone's going to get funded again tonight.
Last one, best
There
one.
it is.
Oh, I have to use this mic? Catherine Liv. I think that's what it says. Catherine Liv?
Come on down. So congratulations, you've been funded. You've been funded. Okay, so now the good stuff. Yana, what's your prize?
Seas candies.
Right. Who could use? Daniel, you're up. Who can use some Seas candy? Drum roll, please.
And the candy goes to Joe Adams.
Joe, come on down. Jacqueline.
You win. The secret is.
Yes, we have the grand prize. You get to do the grand prize. Okay. Jacqueline. So here's the grand prize. It's from Insperity. It's a very fancy
Let me see what's
it's a very fancy bag. It's an igloo for you can bring your lunch and dinner with you when you do your 996. Jacqueline, hold on. Okay. Yvonne, the winner is
This goes to a person with a very bad handwriting. Kunal from Qualcomm.
Well, come on down. Congratulations. There's your bag.
Thank you.
Smile if I can.
Recently married, and you take some, take a me wine on bacon.
Okay, so once again, let's give it up for our panel. Let's give it up for all our sponsors, Insperity, New York Life, and so on. Let's hear it for our event team and our video team. Applause. Let's hear it for our audience. Thanks for sticking around. Let's hear it for me. So Cynthia and Melissa want to say something. What do you want to say?
Happy birthday. Right here at the IPO.
Ellen.
Let's go. 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you.
Oh.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear.
Rob idea to IPO.
Happy birthday to you.
Yay! Where's your car keys? Where's your car keys?
So I mentioned there is an after party. If this was any other law firm, you'd have to leave in 20 minutes, but this is not any law firm. This is Snell and Wilmer. So you can stay all night. We have an after party. We've got lots of cake. Stick around, talk to our panelists, take some selfies. Thanks for coming. Happy New Year.